Clave here, and hey guys, Clave here, and today I'm gonna make a different video. It's about my X-Men movie ranking, and I know you guys are probably expecting to watch the Harry Potter movie ranking, but I haven't seen. Well, I mean, I have seen all of the movies, but I haven't finished watching all of the movies yet. I'm up to the Half-Blood Prince, but I was supposed to watch that yesterday, but didn't feel like to. I watched another one. I will mention it later. So yeah. Today we are going to rank the X-Men movies from worst to best. So yeah, here we go. Coming in at number 10 is X-Men Origins Wolverine. The movie wasn't terrible, despite having some terrible CGI in there, like when Wolverine's claws. His CGI was just terrible. The action scenes was just over the top. It was enjoyable, but it was over the top. I really didn't like the third act. The third act of this movie was terrible. They like They ruined Deadpool as a character. They sewed his mouth shut. That is stupid. They shouldn't have done that. Like, the movie was fine, but then the third act was just. I hate the third act. I hate what they done to Deadpool. What were they thinking? So, yeah, that's my number 10. Coming in at number 9 is The Wolverine. A lot of people like this movie, a lot of people didn't. It's kind of a mixed bag of that movie, but I thought it was alright. The action scenes were pretty good. Um, the Japanese style tone was pretty good. The only part that I don't like about this movie is that sometimes it can get a little bit boring and then slow paced, and then the third act was like wonky. It took away the Japanese style tone that the first and second act have. The Japanese style. The third act is where Wolverine fights the samurai robot thing, and it kind of takes away the Japanese tone of it. But it's still a good movie, but it wasn't my favorite. So coming in at number 8 is X-Men: The Last Stand. Now, a lot of people don't like that movie because it was the most disappointing one, but I like it. I thought it was pretty good. The only issue I had with this movie is that it wasn't great. They killed Professor X and Cyclops. It was a bit rushed, and I don't like. I like that. I like X-Men: The Last Stand, but it wasn't my favorite. But it used to be my favorite of the X-Men trilogy, like X-Men 1, 2, and 3, but it became my least favorite because I don't know. I like it the least, so yeah. It's a good movie, but it's not a great one. Oh yeah, I know this video might contain spoilers, but if you haven't seen any X-Men movies, then don't watch this video because it will contain spoilers, but it's okay. So coming in at number 7 is the first one that started it all, is X-Men 1. I thought this movie was pretty good. I really liked Magneto in this one. He was really badass. I really liked Professor X in that one. Wolverine was great. The story was alright. The movie was alright. The only issue I have with this movie is just that it wasn't great. It feels mediocre to me, but it's still a good one. It's not a terrible X-Men movie, but I really like X-Men 1. So yeah, that comes in at number 7. And what number is that? Number 6 is the second one, X-Men 2, X-Men United. The first time I watched this movie, I didn't really like it because I thought it was boring. I thought the third act kind of dragged for me, but then I rewatched this movie and I actually like it even more than the first one, and it's actually used to be my least favorite of the trilogy. Now it's my favorite, which is actually weird. Um, I really like X-Men 2. I think I like it more than the first one. It's because it had a better story, probably a better villain, better action, and better characters. Like the Nightcrawler scene at the beginning was, I like Nightcrawler in this one. He's really cool. But yeah. So the second time I watched it, I still think the third act dragged, but I wasn't bored by it. But it's still a good movie, but it wasn't a great one. So X-Men 2, X-Men United comes in at number 6. And number 5, a lot of people don't like this movie that much, but I think this is like one of the most underrated X-Men movies, but I really like it. I thought it was great. and that is X-Men Apocalypse. I love that film. That film is so good. I know it's not perfect. I know there are flaws, but I really like Quicksilver in it. The Quicksilver scene was even better than the ones in X-Men Days of Future Past, which that movie is ranked higher. The only issue I have with X-Men Apocalypse is that he was a bit too cliched. He wants, like, I don't know, he wants to take over the world. He was like, oh, we'll build a better one or something, but he was a good villain, but not a great one. He was a bit too cliched to me. But the good thing about this movie is that there's so many emotional scenes in it, like with Magneto, when Magneto's daughter and his wife, they died because they were killed by those guards, and then Magneto was so sad that he took his coin and flew it and went into their throats, and then they died instantly. And then it was a brutal scene, but then I understand why he did it. But the best part when he was like, "Is this what I am?" Like, oh god, that scene was just emotional. So yeah, that's why X-Men Apocalypse is better than X-Men 2 and X-Men 1. So that comes in at number 5. Number 4, and number 4 is X-Men First Class. I really liked that movie. I thought it was a great X-Men movie. Um the things that I like about First Class is the relationship between young Magneto and Charles Xavier, the younger versions of themselves. I really understand their motivations, and I really like how they interact with each other. They have different opinions but the same goals. Like like Xavier wants peace between mutants and humans, and Magneto wants mutants to be more powerful than humans. They have the same idea, like they want mutants to be safe again, but they have like motivations in a different way. That's why Magneto splits up with Xavier at the last act, because Charles Xavier doesn't agree with Magneto killing all the humans because they terrorized the mutants. But I like X-Men First Class. Is a great movie, but I like the other films more. Coming in at number 3 is a lot of people think it's an overrated movie, but I thought it was great. And that is Deadpool. This movie was very, very funny. I really liked this movie. Um Before I watched this movie, Deadpool, I didn't really know much about Deadpool, but then after I watched it, I thought it was amazing. Deadpool is a really funny character. I really like the action sequences in here, the jokes, the references. It's such a good movie, and yeah, that comes in at number 3. At number 2, I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but this is like everyone's favorite X-Men movie. But I still really like this one, and that is Logan. Logan is my second favorite X-Men. I really, really like Logan. I think it's a masterpiece. It's just the only issue I have with it. It's because it's too depressing, and then like Charles Xavier died, and then Logan dies at the end. It was just so depressing. They were getting old, and Wolverine was getting a bit more vulnerable and weak, and so is Charles Xavier. And seeing them like that in a movie, it actually makes me sad. It has really great action sequences, and it's a really great movie. And yeah, it's pretty tragic. So yeah, that comes in at number 2. Number 1, my favorite X-Men movie of all time happens to be my favorite Marvel movie of all time. It's such a good movie. It's so fast paced. It's a masterpiece, and that is X-Men Days of Future Past. That movie is so freaking awesome. I really like that movie. There's a lot of great things in it. Like Magneto was such a badass. How he left the stadium was just so cool. Xavier was so cool in that one too. He was good. And then Mystique was such a badass in this one. The story is really nice. It's so interesting. I was so hooked watching that movie. And Quicksilver was just amazing in that one. I really like the scene. It's worth it. I really like the movie. After I finished watching that movie, I was blown away of how good X-Men Days of Future Past was. It was such a great movie. It's my favorite Marvel movie of all time. It's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite superhero films of all time. X-Men Days of Future Past is my favorite X-Men movie of all time. Oh yeah, and my possibly favorite part of the movie was Magneto's speech. Magneto's speech kind of make me cry. I know you guys are probably gonna call me a little bitch, but I don't care. That Magneto's speech was really good. Like, it kind of moved me a little bit, and it's a really X-Men Days of the Future Past is my favorite X-Men movie of all time. So yeah, that's my X-Men ranking. Some of you probably gonna disagree with me, but that's fine. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and after this video I'm gonna watch Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince so that I can make a Harry Potter movie ranking. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.